Hello, good evening to you. Exactly 5 years after the formation of National Police and Fire Services, Holyrood's Justice Committee has announced a review of the legislation that made the reforms possible. The merger of 8 regions was designed to save money and ensure better use of resources, but Police Scotland in particular has been at the centre of a number of controversies since 2013. Stephen Godden reports.
New recruits being put through their paces at the Scottish Police College. Effort, they hope, that helps them fulfil an often long-held ambition. Since 2013, new recruits have joined Police Scotland, created by merging 8 regional forces. The rationale: to save money and ensure resources are sent where they're needed.
We could have gone down the route of just trying to sustain 8 services, but that would have resulted in very significant cuts in police resources, and moving to a single force was the most effective way to protect our policing, and by and large we've been able to do that.
Police Scotland's problems have been well documented. Controversy surrounding stop and search and armed policing, a call handling review prompted by a fatal crash on the M9, and most recently the resignation of the Chief Constable, whose permanent successor is still to be appointed.
We've changed the personnel, still the problems continue, and that is why I think we need to see a root and branch, I would say independent review of the structures of policing in Scotland, so that we can have the transparency and the accountability that we need to from policing.
5 years on, Holyrood's Justice Committee is set to begin scrutinising the legislation that brought Police Scotland and the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service into being. The aim to establish whether the difficulties that we've seen can be put down to teething problems or whether change is needed to the legislation. Stephen Godden, reporting Scotland at the Scottish Parliament.
A 48-year-old woman has been arrested after an operation involving armed police officers in Edinburgh. They were called to the grounds of Craigmillar Castle yesterday. A wooded area was sealed off and specialist negotiators were brought in. The 14-year-old girl who had her neck broken in a hit-and-run in Glasgow last weekend has taken her first steps in hospital. Roisin Walker was among 5 children who were driven into in Castlemilk. Roisin's sister Jamie Lee has told BBC Scotland that she is recovering well. A new GP contract aimed at cutting the workload of doctors comes into force today. The British Medical Association says it'll restore hope to the profession. The Scottish Government says no practice will lose money under the new system, which will guarantee a minimum earning of £80,000. But the Scottish Conservatives say there are still concerns over the contract for rural practices.
Well, there's real concerns around the contract, specifically around rural GPs. The government have said that they guarantee finance around it, but we know already rural GPs, many of them have local payments which have been provided by local health boards. There's not a guarantee over that funding at the moment, and so we still need to get answers from the government on that. But it's about creating a long-term sustainable environment for general practice.
This is about building up all practices, whether they're in urban Scotland or in rural and remote Scotland. We have recruitment and retention monies as part of the 110 million, so £7.5 million going into recruitment and retention initiatives, many of those within remote and rural Scotland. And we have a short life working group that will be is being established as we speak to address some of those issues.
Football, and in the Premiership, Dundee and Hearts drew 1-1. Hearts took the lead in the second minute through Ross Callaghan. Dundee equalised in the first half, their goal scored by Sofiane Moussa. Now, the Scotland team have been officially welcomed into the Commonwealth Games Athletes Village, with the event on Australia's Gold Coast just 3 days away. It's where the majority of the 224 Scottish athletes will stay during the Games, and as Jane Lewis reports, they were given a reception they're unlikely to forget.
An Aboriginal welcome for Team Scotland, followed by a modern take on Australian life. And the welcome party was in full swing.
Well, over the next 2 weeks, this athletes village will be home from home for not just Team Scotland, but for around 7,000 athletes and officials from around the Commonwealth. The village cost around £300 million to build, and it should deliver all the athletes' needs during the Games.
With so many athletes around, the physio is in great demand and on the doorstep.
I mean, the physio and the medicine stuff is like top notch here, so it's actually really exciting when you come because you get the best of the best of what they do. So it's actually good to come in and get a check-up here and there.
And when it comes to home comforts, the village is also delivering.
So this is it.
So this is the bedroom, yeah.
Who are you sharing with?
So I'm sharing with Jodie Hughes, a fellow weightlifter. Yeah, it's been brilliant so far. We just came yesterday, so we're settling in well.
Yeah, and how are the beds?
Very comfortable, but yeah, loving the sheets as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Saltires proudly on show, and Team Scotland in good voice. Jane Lewis, reporting Scotland, Gold Coast.
Let's get an update on the weather forecast now with Gillian.
Thanks, Anne. Good evening to you. We've had lots of spring sunshine on offer today, and hopefully you manage to get out and about and make the most of it, because there's a very different day to come tomorrow as this frontal system brings some wet and wintry weather. It's not with us yet. Tonight, a few wintry flurries in the far north, but most places will be dry, some long clear spells, fairly light winds, a widespread frost, temperatures widely below freezing. And then towards morning, we start to see some sleet and snow pushing into the far south. And for tomorrow, we have yellow be aware warnings from the Met Office. For much of England and Wales, those warnings are of rain, but north of the border, snow will be the issue, and we'll see a band of it working its way northwards across much of the country, especially over the high ground, but not exclusively. There will be some snow falling even to low levels, including for the central belt, and it's coming in on strong easterly winds, so there will be some drifting, really poor conditions. A similar story for Northern Ireland and Northern England. Further south across England and Wales, well, you can see much milder air is feeding in, so it will be rain in these parts, and those temperatures will really jump up, but certainly a cold feel to things north of the border. And for Tuesday, that frontal system still very much in play. We still have a yellow be aware warning from the Met Office for central and northern Scotland for the first part of the day, well into the afternoon in fact. So poor conditions once again, some settling snow, strong winds, and then eventually turning milder from the south as the day goes on. That's the forecast.
Thanks very much for that, Gillian. And that's all for the moment. We'll be back with another update at 10:20. Hope you can join us then. Enjoy your evening.